It's Monday, April the 6th. What was going on that Monday in the ancient city of Jerusalem almost 2,000 years ago? The Monday of Holy Week. Jesus had entered the city on Palm Sunday to great crowds and great cheering. Everyone knew he had indeed arrived for the Passover feast that would begin in just a few days. Well, he came back to the temple area from Bethany, where he was staying just a few miles down the road. And on Monday, he shows up in the temple area, and he's not hiding in a corner. No, he's standing up and confronting the religious leaders and the temple authorities in broad daylight. In fact, one of the greatest scenes in the Bible took place that Monday. It was the scene in which Jesus walked into the temple and began to turn over the tables of the money changers. You see, the temple authorities had a system in place whereby the Jewish pilgrims who would arrive for the festivals had to exchange their Roman money for a Jewish temple currency. And of course, just like when you exchange money today, there's a rate of exchange. People are making money at that level. Then you had to take the temple money and go and buy sacrifices that would be brought to the temple to be offered as your sacrifices. And again, at that level, there were monetary exchanges and profit going on, and at every level, the temple authorities, the religious leaders, the family of the high priest, they were getting a profit at every single level when you exchanged your money, when you bought your sacrifices. When Jesus walked into the temple, he was already in an adversarial position with the religious leaders and the Jewish authorities. And when he saw all of that bartering and trading and marketing going on, it angered him. It angered him because he saw it as a misuse of the temple. The place that was built so that people could pray and encounter God and know His grace and know of His glory had become a place for religious leaders and other business people to earn money and to gain a profit. They had turned prayer into profit. Instead of worrying about the kingdom of God, they were focused on their own kingdom. Instead of focusing on the glory of God, they were concerned only about what God could do for them. Our focus passage today is in Mark 11 and verse 15. They came to Jerusalem. He went into the temple and began to throw out those buying and selling. He overturned the tables of the money changers and the chairs of those selling doves, and would not permit anyone to carry goods through the temple. He was teaching them, "Is it not written, my house shall be called a house of prayer for all nations? But you have made it a den of thieves." The chief priests and the scribes heard it and started looking for a way to kill him. Jesus confronted them. He challenged them. On this Monday of Holy Week, it's a good time for us to ask, how have we sometimes tried to use God for our own selfish ends? Sometimes we come to God, and instead of real worship, we're only interested in what God can do for us. Have we at times inadvertently turned the house of God, the things of God, the worship of God, into a mechanism for what God can do for us, instead of focusing on His greatness and His glory? Are we more concerned about our kingdom than His kingdom, and our gain than His glory? Today is a day to right-size your heart. Just as Jesus turned over those tables, what is it that needs to be turned upside down in your heart? So that God is not someone who's meant simply to serve us and give us what we want, but rather we see God for who He is, the true and living Creator, who is worthy of our praise and worthy of our worship. Let us make our own hearts and our own worship a place of prayer and seeking God, not a place for our personal profit. Let Jesus clean our house today as He cleaned the house then, almost 2,000 years ago, on the Monday of Holy Week.